right. Good morning, everyone. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Trillman, has anyone signed up for public comment?
Good morning, Commissioners. We have no one signed up for public comment this morning.
All right, thank you much. Good morning, Ms. Miller.
Good morning, sir.
How are you today?
Very well.
Good. We ready to tackle this?
Yes, sir.
All right, but I see we have no cases to reconsider under agenda item 3. Is that right?
That is correct, sir.
Then we also have no tax cases under agenda item 4 on docket 34. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. No cases.
We have no fair housing cases under agenda item 5.
Correct, sir. No cases.
But we'll move to agenda item 6, where we have one wage claim case pulled for additional discussion on docket 34.
Yes, sir. The case is case number 19-058464-0. Commissioner Demerson?
The decision, AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was not an independent contractor. For purposes of the claimant's unemployment claim, the tax department based its finding of employment status on the most important factors of the 20-factor test. Although the claimant may have used his own vehicle and had certain flexibilities in accepting assignments or working for other companies, those are not uncommon in many types of work and are of secondary importance when weighed against the other factors. His work was directly integrated into the primary service of the company. He obtained his jobs through the employer. His pay was largely determined by the company. He used parts and supplies from the company. Most of his expenses were reimbursed by the employer. He represented himself to customers as being with the company, and he did not have a substantial investment in a business of his own. Most importantly, the Occupations Code clearly states that an HVAC technician, such as the claimant, must be supervised by a licensed HVAC contractor, who in turn must be employed by a licensed HVAC contracting company. A finding of employment status would keep this case in line with those of other similar workers. Finally, I believe that it is important to strive to keep the decision of whether a worker is an employee or an independent contractor as consistent as possible between unemployment and wage claims. Accordingly, we should reverse the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was in employment. Resubmit on the issue of unpaid wages.
Commissioner Alvarez?
I would agree to that.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
I would agree as well.
Thank you. We have unanimous. We will reverse the AT and resubmit on the question of wages. You should have received the short form dissent list already.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on docket 34.
I second the motion except for those cases on which I'm dissenting, as reflected on the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 34.
And I concur with the chairman's motion except for the cases on which I'm dissenting, as reflected in the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 34.
The motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you.
You bet. Let's move then to agenda item 7 and consideration of unemployment insurance cases on docket 34. Proceed when you're ready.
Case number 2497267, Commissioner Demerson.
The AT decision should be modified. The claimant was suspended without pay following a complaint that she physically abused a resident. The employer reported the allegation to the state. The claimant denied any wrongdoing. However, the employer should not be penalized for discharging the claimant, since the allegations were serious in nature and the claimant worked with a vulnerable population. Thus, the claimant should continue to be qualified for benefits, but the employer should be protected from charge pursuant to section 207.046A1 of the Act. Accordingly, by the AT decision, no misconduct, no chargeback, separation was urgent, compelling, and necessary.
I would agree to that as well.
And Mr. Chairman? Thank you. We have a unanimous decision.
Case number 2512963, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant filed a late appeal from the determinations in this case because he did not receive the determinations in his mail. He has consistently stated that he did not receive them in his appeal letter to the AT and his testimony. The claimant overcame the presumption of receipt and established non-receipt of the determinations by credible and persuasive evidence. His appeal should be deemed timely and the case should be resubmitted on merits.
The appeal tribunal decision should be affirmed. The claimant filed his appeal beyond the deadline date, which renders it late. Regarding whether he received the determinations in question, the claimant gave inconsistent testimony that did not rise to the level of credible and persuasive. There is also no indication that the determinations were returned undelivered. As such, the claimant's appeal is late and should be dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. We should affirm the AT decision, untimely claimant appeal, and leave the underlying decision in full force and effect. Voluntary leaving, claimant unavailable from January 19, 2020 through February 1, 2020, an overpayment of $885.
Reverse the AT, timely claimant appeal, resubmit.
Thank you. We will resubmit the case.
Case number 2513825, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant was requested to call in to provide information. He tried for over a month to call in, but the commission was unable to take his call because of the overwhelming number of pandemic-related calls. The claimant should not be held ineligible because of the commission could not take his call. Reverse the AT reporting ineligible. Correction, reporting eligible.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant could not report to the commission as instructed due to the high call volume resulting from COVID-19, the COVID-19 disaster. Thus, we should reverse the AT decision reporting eligible.
Concur.
Thank you, sir. We have a unanimous decision.
Case number 2514634, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be reversed. When the claimant filed his payment request for the benefit week ending March 21st, 2020, he inadvertently reported that he worked 40 hours in that claim week. He was simply confused about which week he was filing for. He has since provided credible information that he did not work in that claim week. Reverse the AT, customary full-time hours eligible.
The AT decision is supportable based upon the available record. The claimant initially reported that he had worked his customary full-time hours, which were 40 hours per week during the first claim week. Under the law, that means that he did not qualify as partially unemployed, even though his earnings that week were minimal due to the pandemic-related loss of business. Accordingly, we can affirm the AT decision. The claimant worked his customary full-time hours during the first claim week.
Affirm the AT, customary full-time hours not eligible March 15, 2020 through March 21, 2020.
And Commissioner Alvarez, do you have a dissent?
Yes, what was Commissioner Demerson's ruling on that one?
Commissioner Dimerson?
Yes, ma'am.
My record shows he voted to affirm the AT, customary full-time ineligible.
Okay. Short form dissent on this one.
Thank you, Commissioner Alvarez.
Yes, ma'am.
Case number 2533389, Commissioner Dimerson.
The appeal tribunal decision should be modified. The employer presented two witnesses who stated that the claimant began using very, very high-level profanity words in the presence of children. One witness stated that the claimant was screaming at the top of her lungs, and the other witness stated that the claimant was yelling. The claimant was subsequently fired for this behavior. Accordingly, the preponderance of the evidence establishes that the claimant mismanaged her position of employment, which is misconduct connected with the work. We should therefore modify the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, sever adequate response.
The decision should be reversed. During the claimant's attempts to address her workplace concerns with the assistant director and an administrator, the administrator struck the claimant, which resulted in the administrator receiving a criminal citation. The employer chose to discharge the claimant, but not the administrator. In line with Appeal Number 87-10609-10-061987, the employer's unequal treatment of similar situated employees does not support a finding of misconduct. As such, the decision should be reversed, no misconduct, chargeback, and void adequate response.
Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
Short form dissent, Sherry?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Dimerson, I have your dissent.
Thank you.
Case number 2545932, Commissioner Dimerson.
The appeal tribunal decision is fully supportable and should be affirmed. The claimant used profanity while on the sales floor within earshot of a customer who complained. The claimant attempted to minimize his behavior by explaining that he did not think his improper comments were audible, yet they clearly were. Because the claimant admitted to using inappropriate language and was on the third level final warning at the time, the claimant mismanaged his position of employment. We should affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
The decision should be reversed. The claimant made an excited utterance under his breath due to a severe back pain. The word was not directed at anyone and was not sounded loudly. As such, the claimant's actions did not rise to the level of misconduct. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Dimerson.
Thank you.
Case number 2555525, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should modify the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant was discharged after exceeding the allowable attendance points under the employer's policy. Because the claimant's final absence resulted from the medically verifiable illness of the claimant's minor son, the claimant should be qualified for benefits. The employer's account should be protected from charge under a medical separation analysis. Accordingly, we should modify the AT decision, no misconduct, no chargeback, MBI.
I would agree with Commissioner Demerson.
Agreed.
Thank you, sir. We have a unanimous decision.
Case number 2556581, Commissioner Alvarez.
The decision should be modified. The claimant filed a valid claim because she was unemployed when she was fired. Correction, when she filed. Regarding the job separation, the claimant stopped working for the employer to have eye surgery. She provided medical documentation for the hearing and to the employer. The claimant maintained contact with the employer but was not offered additional work. Additionally, the employer is not a temporary health firm. At the time that the claimant stopped performing services and stopped receiving pay, her separation was caused by her medical issue. Therefore, the claimant should be qualified for benefits, MVI. Modify the AT, claimant filed a valid claim, no voluntary leaving, MVI, and void chargeback.
The appeal tribunal decision should be affirmed. I agree that the claimant filed a valid claim and that the chargeback ruling should be voided. As to the job separation, the claimant did not follow the employer's policies for making herself available for work. The claimant was supposed to contact an HR clerk when she was ready to return to work, but she did not do so until after she filed her claims for benefit. As the preponderance of the evidence establishes that the claimant initiated the job separation, did not take adequate steps to protect her job before filing her claim for the benefits, and quit without good cause connected with the work. We should therefore affirm the AT decision. The claimant filed a valid claim, voluntary leaving, void the chargeback ruling.
Modify the AT, valid claim, no voluntary leaving, void chargeback.
All right, we have not achieved a majority vote. Mr. Chairman, you and Commissioner Alvarez both voted in the claimant's favor on the separation, but under different rationales. I have the chairman as voting under a voluntary quit, VLOO, and Commissioner Alvarez, I have you as voting as a discharge, MCOO. We need to choose one of those.
Yes, ma'am, I would agree with Chairman Daniel.
Thank you. We have majority vote, valid claim, no voluntary leaving, void the chargeback.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair, I have a short form dissent on that.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Anderson, I have your short form dissent.
Thank you.
Case number 2559286, Commissioner Dimerson.
We should reverse the appeal tribunal decision. The claimant alleged that she quit because she was being asked to engage in illegal business practices before the IRS. This allegation is not persuasive. The claimant worked for the employer for almost 10 years and had been working under the same conditions for years. Furthermore, all 4 of the employer's witnesses refuted the allegations that the claimant was ever asked to do anything illegal. It is not unusual for employees to represent and act on behalf of their employers when dealing with others. In addition, the claimant's credibility is suspect. In her fact-finding statements, the claimant provided multiple reasons for quitting, none of which aligned with her testimony. This glaring inconsistency casts serious doubts on the claimant's testimony. Thus, because the preponderance of the credible evidence established that the employer had not asked the claimant to engage in any illegal activities, the claimant's quitting was without good cause connected with the work. We should reverse the AT decision, voluntary leaving, no charge back, adequate employer response.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The claimant quit the job because she was instructed by the employer to engage in improper and deceptive business practices. The claimant's testimony was corroborated by multiple witnesses. The claimant complained to the employer, but her complaint was simply dismissed. The claimant therefore had good cause connected with the work to resign. Affirm the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback.
Affirm the AT, no voluntary leaving, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Dimerson, I have your dissent.
Thank you.
Case number 2561957, Commissioner Alvarez.
This case should be reversed. The claimant was the only party to provide firsthand testimony regarding what he was told about his schedule and the instructions he was given for reporting. The claimant called in as instructed the first 2 days of his employment and was given shifts to work. The claimant called in for 2 weeks after and was not given any additional work. Although the employer alleges that the claimant had a fixed part-time schedule, the employer did not know what the schedule was and has provided no evidence of the schedule. Additionally, the employer has provided no first-hand testimony to rebut the claimant's testimony regarding the instructions he was given. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, void chargeback ruling.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The employer's testimony should hold greater weight because it is more plausible than the claimant's testimony. The most credible evidence establishes that the claimant stopped reporting for work and ceased communication with the employer. There was ongoing work available for the claimant and no indication that his job was in jeopardy or that he had any issues with his working conditions. Thus, the claimant quit without work-connected good cause, and we should affirm the AT decision, voluntary leaving, void chargeback.
From the AT, voluntary leaving, void chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez, I have your short form dissent.
Case number 2563803, Commissioner Alvarez.
The AT decision should be reversed. The claimant was discharged because he was given an informal welding test at the start of the job to weld 3 pipes. Upon X-ray, one of the welds was faulty. This was the first welding test the claimant has failed. In construction, welders frequently failed at a job site test, weld at least once in their career, and sometimes the faulty weld is outside the welder's control. The claimant clearly was doing his best in performing the job, and there is no evidence of carelessness or negligence. This case is distinguishable from commission precedents addressing a failure to pass a third party's licensing or certification test required for a job. This was simply an informal test internally given by an employer to gauge the claimant's skills. The claimant's failure to perform the trial weld satisfactorily does not constitute misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct.
The appeal tribunal decision should be affirmed. The claimant was aware that passing a welding test was required for him to continue working. The claimant failed the test. Since the claimant failed a test that he knew was a requirement for his job, his actions constitute the equivalent of misconduct connected with the work. We should therefore affirm the AT decision.
Affirm Confirm the 18 misconduct.
Short
Thank
form
you.
dissent.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Alvarez, I have your short form dissent. And that was the last case pulled for additional discussion on docket 34. You should have received the short form dissent list already.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 34.
Chairman, I second the motion except for those cases on which I am dissenting, as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 34.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting, as reflected in the UI short form dissent list for docket 34.
The motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of agenda items 3 through 7. Let's pause for a few minutes to reset for the rest of the meeting.
I think I'm on mute. Yeah.
All right, there's everybody. We're ready to tackle the rest of this.
Do it, do it, do it. Ready.
All right. This is agenda item 8, discussion, consideration, possible action regarding the 2020 annual report on the transition from military service to employment to the Texas Legislature, Governor Greg Abbott, as required by Labor Code Section 302.020.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioner Alvarez, Commissioner Demerson, and Mr. Cerna. I'm Bob here, Director of the Texas Veterans Leadership Program Work Division. As Texas Labor Code Chapter 302.020 requires the Texas Workforce Commission to submit an annual report on the transition from military service to employment to the Texas Legislature on the 1st of September. The report includes an overview of the legislative requirements, an overview of the Texas Workforce Commission and community partners. It has a veteran and non-veteran unemployment table. I'd like to highlight a change. After receiving guidance, we're highlighting that the unemployment rates are showing it is a 12-month moving average. The rates are 12-month moving average. The report also lists the multiple veteran programs within the Workforce Commission and their updated numbers. The final section lists the 5 most common transitioning military occupational specialties industry-based certifications that align with those military occupational specialties and their civilian occupations. For 2020, the top 5 military occupational specialties were: number 1, infantryman; number 2, automated logistics specialist; material management and supply specialist; number 3, wheel vehicle mechanic; number 4, healthcare specialist / hospital corpsman; and number 5, communication specialist. Staff is seeking the Commission's approval of this year's annual report for submission to the Texas Legislature. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you. Questions or comments?
Chairman, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Bob Gear. Yesterday, we had a good discussion specifically regarding agenda item 8, and I'm glad to see that. I know that a couple of weeks ago, you stressed the importance of focusing on military servicemen and their families, and so I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Bob for the work that he's been doing. I know we haven't seen him, but I know he's doing good work there at home and working closely with our veterans. I'm also glad to see that we're focusing on industry recognized credentials, anything that makes it possible for military servicemen to make that easy transition. And so after having that discussion with Bob, he's assured me that he's been working behind the scenes, both at the state and federal level, to make sure that these servicemen that are in the military service, active duty, at some point as they transition out, industry recognizes those credentials that they're receiving and the work experience that they're obtaining while in the military. So again, I know you have focused on that, Chairman. So I wanted to take this opportunity to thank Bob.
Thank you, Commissioner Alvarez.
Chairman, I too would like to thank the team for the report. Glad that's going over it. The Texas Transition Alliance Stakeholders Group will be meeting soon at some point. And so, Bob, this is very, very important as a part of what we're doing in bringing information to that group as well. The Skills for Transitioning program, I know that's one that that's not there by name, but it's something that we're working on that's going to be a part of even ongoing activities in the future. And so we're proud to see that taking place as well, and looking forward to those programs similar to that being enhanced and updated as well. And then lastly, I'd like to just bring attention to the employers that are listed on page 8 and 9 under the We Hire Vets program, and recognize those employers for the outstanding work that they're doing to bring employment opportunities to our veteran community. And so we're going to continue to do that, and that's open to my fellow colleagues as well as we go out honoring these vets at these various employers. They're employees that are put to work, and we're proud of the work that those guys are doing for those different employers. So thank you for the report. Looking forward to the final version.
Couple things. First, the chart on page 5, are you gonna put a note on that explaining the 12-month rolling average, or are we gonna change something in there?
Yes,
your
Mr. Chairman, under the data source, we're going to put an asterisk and put 12-month moving average unemployment rates to make sure it's highlighted for the
Great.
reader.
Well, that'll clear that up. This is a pretty important report. A lot of reports we do are because we're supposed to do them. This particular report, I think, has a lot of value out and about, and I think folks in particularly in military communities could really put this report to use in helping match up industries and what I think is just an incredibly talented pool of workforce for the state. Whether someone's mustered out or they've retired from the military, they've chosen Texas as their home, and they have a real opportunity to immediately contribute to the state's economy. And so I hope this report really ends up being a starting point for not just our efforts at TWC, but for many of the communities across the state who I think view this issue as importantly as I do, and certainly my fellow commissioners do. So I hope that we can get this report widely disseminated beyond the legislature and the governor, which I know will be interested in seeing our findings as well, but on down into the hands of community leaders in our military communities and others who really recognize this workforce. I think that reports like this one can help really start a conversation and help us find some tools to help us really move toward where we want to be with military veterans and their families.
Chairman, if I may add to your comments, I totally agree with you. I know a few weeks ago you referenced blended services and how we could touch as many military servicemen as they were transitioning out. And so one of the things that I was able to discuss with Bob yesterday is something that I've had some discussions with, and we did with the folks at Higher Ed at one time. Sometime back, we created a bridge, a crosswalk between apprentices and community colleges. I mean, we had folks from Dr. Sally Janes in our office. Back then, Dr. Rex Peoples, a great gentleman, assisted the agency with being able to fund a program where we were able to create a bridge program, allowing individuals that were finishing up apprenticeship schools that can continue their education at a community colleges or various community colleges around the state receiving college credit. And yesterday I was talking to Bob about this because this is something that would enhance, to me, I feel like this report that we've put together and bringing forth to the governor allows us to use this as a foundation. There are a couple of ideas that I know that we've talked about with Bob, one being that we would like to see some type of a crosswalk, something that would actually be a template, very similar to what was set up with apprenticeship. And the other is, looking at ways that those individuals that are transitioning out of military service do receive some type of credentialing. I know in the top one, the top occupational specialty for 2020 was infantryman and rifleman. Well, that's kind of similar as a police officer. So at some point it'd be nice, and I know this is more federal, but it'd be nice for those individuals that are in the military that would receive as they transition and as they continue their military service. And I'm sure this is done. I'd like to learn more about it, but that they would receive a credential. So if you're a medic, you receive first aid, CPR, and some of the other things, so that when you transition out, where does an infantryman or a transitioning veteran find this on their, on their background? Do they have to, is it on their DD 214 or all the credentials that they receive or licensings or certifications listed somewhere? These are discussions that I would like to continue. So again, I appreciate the fact that the commissioners have supported anything having to provide an easy transition for military servicemen into the workforce.
Questions or comments?
Good.
Do we have a motion on this issue?
I move that we approve and submit the 2020 report on the transition from military service to employment as recommended.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We're unanimous. Thank you. This is agenda item 9, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding the distribution of funds to support Texas Rising Star mentors and assessors in board contract year 2021.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, and Mr. Cerna. For the record, Allison Wilson, Child Care and Early Learning Division. On July 28th, you approved $10.5 million to support local Texas Rising Star mentors and assessors and board contract year 2021. However, after this approval, staff identified a calculation error. With corrections, the new budget amount is just under $10.5 million. This revised distribution uses the same methodology that was used in BCY 20, including a hold harmless adjustment. That concludes my remarks, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions or comments?
No, Chairman.
None here.
Do we have a motion on this issue?
Chairman, I move that we approve the revised budget amount of $10,476,962 to support TRS mentors and assessors in BCY 2021 and distribute the TRS mentor and assessor funding as described and illustrated in attachment 1.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We're unanimous. Thank you. This is agenda item 10, discussion, consideration, and possible action regarding fiscal year 2020 operating budget modifications.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Cerna. For the record, Chris Nelson, Chief Financial Officer. This morning, you have before you a discussion paper regarding modification to TWC's 2020 operating budget. By August 31st of 2020, TWC must be able to demonstrate it has committed the general revenue match funds appropriated to us for budget year 2020. These funds match the 2020 federal vocational rehab grant. We must also be able to fully expend the 2019 VR federal grant by September 30th of 2020, which has already been matched with prior year general revenue funds. COVID-19 started impacting Texas in March of 2020 and has continued throughout the summer. We have determined we will not have enough overall expenditures over this period to accomplish both of these objectives. Since the VR program has come to TWC, we normally see an increase in client service expenditures during the spring and summer months enough to fully expend the older grant while fully committing any current year general revenue. Due to COVID-19, we have seen a decrease in client service expenditures during this period rather than an increase. The plan before you lays out a staff recommendation to fully expend our 2019 federal grant, prioritize the use of general revenue balance with the VR program within the VR program on allowable non-matched expenditures and other unexpected COVID-19 costs. We have submitted a request to the Legislative Budget Board to UB or move any unused 2020 general revenue forward into budget year 2021, which could be used to pull down additional federal dollars in 2021 if approved. If that is disapproved, we will lapse those unused funds back to the state. That concludes my remarks, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments?
No comments here.
None here. Thanks for the briefing, Chris.
Do we have a motion on this issue?
Chairman, I move that we modify fiscal year 2020 operating budget by prioritizing VR federal grant year 2019 expenditures over fiscal year 2020 state matching fund expenditures. The remaining 2020 state matching funds should be transferred to cover VR facility integration, business enterprises of Texas, and COVID-19 expenditures as outlined by staff, and the Work in Texas user expansion. Any remaining state matching funds should be transferred to appropriation year 21 or lapsed back to the state treasury pending instruction from LBB.
Second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. We're unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have nothing to present for items 11 and 12, so let's move to item 13, our COVID report. Yep.
All right. Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. For the record, Reagan Miller with Child Care and Early Learning Division. This morning, we are seeking your direction on concluding the child care stabilization grants for closed subsidy providers. You authorized this temporary program in May with grants effective on June 1st. When we presented this program to you in May, we noted our expectation that we would support child care providers through the summer until schools reopened. And when you approved this program, you also noted your intent to monitor the need for stabilization grants and evaluate the length of time grant funds would remain available. Part of the grant application required child care providers to affirm that they plan to reopen when their zoned public school reopened. In light of this, and based on the TEA guidance that authorizes a standard 4-week extension for schools to physically reopen, we are seeking your guidance on concluding the Child Care Stabilization Grant Program for all grant recipients effective September 30th of 2020. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions?
No, Chairman.
None here.
Do we have a motion on this issue?
I move that we conclude the Child Care Stabilization Grant for all grant recipients effective September 30th, 2020 as discussed.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We're unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reagan.
We have one more update from Clay Cole on UI activity.
Good morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Alvarez, Commissioner Demerson, Mr. Serna. For the record, Clay Cole, Unemployment Insurance Division. 2 updates today. I want to start off with the UI claims and payment activity update, and then talk about the FEMA Lost Wage Assistance Program. On the claims and payment activity update, to date, we processed over 4.5 million claims and paid out over $26 billion in unemployment benefits. UI staff began a new campaign last week to further increase assignment productivity through new streamlined protocols and automated scripts. This past week, we've reduced our assignment inventory by nearly 50,000 assignments. And to date, during the pandemic, staff have closed over 6 million assignments. And for the past months, we continue to handle roughly over 200,000 calls a week. And to date, we've handled over 4.4 million calls. And I just want to thank our UI staff, contract partners, and TWC volunteers for stepping up to help customers in need of our unemployment services. And we're going to continue to take further steps to improve our service delivery to help all those still in need. So now an update on the FEMA Lost Wage Assistance Program, which provides the extra $300 per week to eligible UI customers, beginning with the week ending August 1st, 2020. Claimants must qualify by being COVID-19 disrupted and monetarily eligible for at least $100 per week in benefits. Claimants do not need to do anything to receive the extra benefits and do not need to call TWC. They simply need to continue to request payment, and TWC will generate the extra payments if they are eligible. TWC submitted our application last week with FEMA and was approved Friday, late afternoon Friday, August 21st, 2020 for approximately $1.38 billion in benefits, which covers 3-week period, the 3 weeks being the week ending August the 1st, August the 8th, and August the 15th. So within just the being funded, like I said, late Friday, staff really stepped it up. And over the last 2 days, just the last 2 days, TWC's already paid out almost $300 million in lost wage assistance benefits that covers those 3 weeks that I listed, August the 1st, week ending August 8th, and August 15th. And we learned yesterday that Texas is one of only 2 states that are paying the lost wage assistance benefits. So we're very thankful and proud of our UI, IT, and finance teams for delivering the additional benefits to customers so quickly. And again, just want to thank all the teams that had a helping hand and implement this and turn this around for those customers in need. TWC will be submitting a funds request on a weekly basis going forward as FEMA requires. Today we'll submit the week ending August the 22nd, and then this coming Saturday we'll submit for the week ending August the 29th. That does keep us kind of a week behind our normal payment process, which we're communicating that through messaging to our customers so they know. For example, people that are requesting this week typically request for week ending August 22nd and August 15th. And so right now they're just receiving the extra allotment from FEMA for those first 3 weeks, the 1st, the 8th, and the 15th. And so it's not included on the most recent week, August 22nd. But like I said, we're going to be communicating that as effectively as we can to our customers so they understand that. And this concludes my update, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions or comments?
Chairman, at this time, I'd like to thank Clay. I'd also like to echo what he said about the UI staff and TW staff in general for all the hard work that they've put in place to make sure that we do our very best to answer all questions that people may have. I understand that it could be challenging, but I think that Clay and the work that they've done has certainly made things somewhat bearable and pleasant to those that are calling in. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our communications team for putting the word out. We get lots of inquiries and calls and emails to the office, always asking us various questions, but a lot of the questions have been answered because of our communications team and the folks that work there for putting out this information as soon as possible. And then again, Ed, thanking him at this time for the continuous interviews that he does and doing quite well. So Ed, I just wanted to thank you, Clay, you and your team, Lachey, and all the folks, Rosa, and all the folks that work for you. We certainly value all you do for the agency, and I can't say enough about the call center folks at the same time. So thank you, the team, and just everyone in general, and our 28 workforce boards and their employees as well.
Thanks, Commissioner Alvarez. Appreciate it.
And same here. I mean, same sentiments and statements stated by Commissioner Alvarez. You guys are just doing a impeccable job in terms of trying to be with the customers that are out there. I always want to overemphasize the need to communicate, and so messaging that you mentioned, we can't do enough of that. And word goes out means a lot in being playing, on the offensive side of all the things that you guys are doing. So we are appreciative of the work that's going there. And lastly, thank you guys for assisting us with the Texas Restaurant Association webinar. We had one for employers and employees, and you guys stood up on the employee side to answer those questions in regards to that industry that's been hit the most. And so we appreciate, and they appreciate the responsiveness of the agency to answer their questions that are out there. So thank you guys for participating.
You're welcome. We enjoyed it. It was a good meeting last week.
All right, thank you for the update. Ed, do we have anything else in there?
No, sir, that's all we have. Thank you.
All right, we don't have a legislative update today, and I don't believe we have executive director's report today.
No, sir.
All right. Is there any other order of business come before the commission?
No, Chairman.
None? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
I second that as the month of August comes and goes. I second that motion, so.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.
You too, sir.
Well.